it's another edition of City Make Spence, playoff edition. That's
playoff
right.
edition.
We fucking made it. Time of recording this, just about 8 o'clock, Tuesday, October 29th. We are at post Detroit City regular season. We are now a few days away from what will be first round of the Eastern Conference playoffs in Detroit City, hosting the opponent, that which we'll be talking about very shortly in there. But let's roll into the rest of the crew. Garrett here, obviously, in the Metro East side. First off, the man who's behind all the graphics, all the production, getting this shit out. Basically, the hardest working supporter of Detroit City FC game. Because, the channel that Kiss from Shaw got that reference. Adam, my brother, how are you?
I'm good. Good.
Have you guys seen that clip of the dude at the Steve Bannon press conference today?
I've not.
I know of it, but I haven't watched the clip.
He's like, okay, so he's talking in like this crazy, like it's like one of those wrestling voices, like, and he's clearly doing that. And like Steve Bannon, I think because the voice is like that, he's kind of like, this is my boy, this is cool. And he's like, he talks about how they were hanging out in the weight room and like at prison and asked when they're going to have another insurrection and can we storm the Burger King after this? And then he as security leads him away, he tells him he looks like Yoda with AIDS. And it's amazing. That's where that voice took me right now. So people, if you want to place this at a moment in social media time, there you go. It's the night that everybody was watching that video going, haha, nice.
Also, yeah, it was in New York too, which is funny because I think it's Kiss. I started that because I think of the announcement for whenever Kiss used to go on stage and their manager, because Kiss is a New York City band,
right?
This working band, and and I was like, oh, this is perfect for Adam. And of course, the man behind the namesake, the most intriguing, interesting Detroit City FC supporter in the game today for plenty of reasons. If you don't know him, you're fucking missing out. Sean Spence, how are you?
I'm okay. I don't want anyone to feel any sort of emotional or social poverty for not getting to spend time with me. It is much less enjoyable than Garrett makes it sound. I've been reliably told.
So we have all the fun. We got all the fun pleasantries away. We got the joys out. It's kind of similar to how Detroit City's opponents felt before the ball kicked on Saturday night. I'm thinking there's a parallel a new parallel I'm going to use, because the first time we played San Antonio in San Antonio, we opened the season in 2022. This time we end the season. So when it comes to San Antonio away, if it ain't first, it's last. And now we get to talk about how Detroit City FC woke up and pissed excellence over San Antonio FC. Okay, I'm done with the Talladega Nights, Ricky Bobby stuff. City goes in. San Antonio, plenty to play for. Some matchups taking place before, during, after an Eastern Conference. Fop Mob, what the fuck? There was 3 matches that had an hour start time later. Unfortunately, when Fop Mob is what I use often for my source, so that 9:30 start time Eastern was actually 8:30 start time Eastern.
Yeah, they got. I think that Europe went to daylight savings time before we did, and Fop Mob assumes that we're going when they are, and it's like, well, no, we're hanging on another week here, guys.
They got some of the fixtures right, except 3 of them. Ours, Rhode Island, Miami, and Tulsa, Monterey. So when kickoff started, instead of like 1 minute, it was minus 58, minus 50. Yeah, and then it had to reset itself.
Like you could do the math if you really wanted to. You could look at it and be like, okay, let's see, okay, 23rd minute, cool. But yeah, you had to do the math. It was like first edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. There was a lot of just unnecessary math involved.
Yeah, indeed. City's lineup, pretty straightforward for the final match of the year. Carlos Saldana back in net, Ryan Williams in midfield, second match in a row. Maxi Rodriguez, since he came home, he was given the armband. opens things up
Mhm.
with a great goal. What's even better is his Instagram post after which whoever took the shot, because Maxi obviously had a lot of friends and family in town, runs up to that corner, sticks his arms out like it's that Jesus statue in Rio de Janeiro that we've talked about before. And if in the Instagram post, if you live long enough, you can see yourself become the villain. So fucking ice cold. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the team that gave up on him.
Yeah.
And he celebrated. I always view that putting out your arms thing, unless you're doing the pointing at your shirt thing too.
Yeah.
Then I always kind of think of it, especially when they run over to their supporter section and do that, like they're almost like they're just trying to like take in all the energy from the group. Like, yes, give it to me.
Yeah.
And he deserved that moment because, like, I mean, we were very good in this match without anybody having to be exceptional.
Yeah.
Like San Antonio were just not as good a team as we are at this point, and
Yeah.
we kind of butchered them. Like, if we played forever, we would have won by infinity. Like it was only going one direction, and we needed a good save from Carlos early to keep them from grabbing a lead that would have been, would have made things difficult because then they could pack it in, right?
Yeah.
But we were able to keep control of the game state, got that first goal from Maxi, which is beautiful, coming in off the left, kind of winning the ball a little bit and sort of just bursting out of that little cluster of people with the ball and having a shot very quickly that was really, just incredibly, it was sharp, it was well directed, it tucked just inside the post. Keeper had nothing to say about it.
Yeah.
It was great.
Carter Manley, then San Antonio captain, playing his last game ever. Unfortunately, for them, and great for us, is the last man in a denial of goal scoring opportunity moment.
Yeah.
Gets a straight red card. So if you're kind of wondering why Maxi was consoling him at that moment, probably someone he's known through years. He's played in Texas for like Rio Grande Valley and been around a little bit, but someone who, is no stranger to some of our teammates.
Right. He's a journeyman who's hanging him up, and Maxie knows him, and that was the beginning of us starting to kind of take them apart. Like they were struggling to keep the ball and keep the rest state anything but ominous, meaning like as soon as they turned it over, we were on a break.
Yeah.
And Ben was just outrunning him to that long ball. And he did a valiant effort. Like he put the hand on the shoulder and then used that to kind of lever himself entirely off the ground and fling his body in front of the ball, which if it were illegal is something you would see constantly. Because it was pretty dramatic. He was a pace behind and fully got the ball, but like only by using Ben as a hobby horse. So it was obviously a straight red. If it had been anything else, I would have lost my mind, I think. And then like it was so the match really, because San Antonio is pressing for an equalizing goal. They're at home and they're playing pretty well, and we're trying to pick off a counter, and they're kind of barely doing enough to keep it out, and then this happens, and then Ryan Williams just like I thought, like when I realized that Ryan was in the match, I thought that like I think this is going to be like absolutely a goal. Like this is no big deal for him. He could he could get a ball up and down. I think maybe you did, Adam. I think you predicted a Ryan Williams goal, maybe. But I mean, like it was really like I thought, oh God, this place it was far enough out that it wasn't going to be hard to get it up and down. And I mean, he didn't place it perfectly, it wasn't like in the upper 90. It was kind of in that direction, but but I mean, it was so well struck, and the keeper was just kind of stood there, like, wow, that
It happened so quick after,
that was
like,
yeah, it's like tweet, but it's in the goal, and he's just like, what the fuck, man, like.
Manley gets sent. Manley goes in there. I
Yeah.
think you're starting to
Yeah,
hear
so
San Antonio.
Manly's still on the sideline, like kind of mournfully limping off after this hard challenge, and we score to go 2-0 up. Like, so now we're 2 goals up, a man up, and the match is really over.
Mhm.
Then we had the Ben Morris brace in the second half, as as City legend Ben Morris vaulted to 11 goals on the season.
Yeah, 10 in the league play, and then finishes with 2. The first time Detroit City has 2 double-digit scores in a regular season with Maxi Rodriguez
Yeah.
and Ben Morris. I felt good getting the goal count right, but I had Maxi with the brace instead of Ben because I had to remember from our tunnel talk if Jaime and I made another bet if Ben got the 10 goals. I didn't know if it involved, because Jaime already owes me 2 Del Taco meals, and I owe him a Frosty for Nate playing instead of Carlos, the home Birmingham match. Actually, no, Carlos playing instead of Nate. That's what it was. So Jaime now, and I don't know if it's going to be happening tonight, is going to have to do a haiku
Oh, wow.
because Ben Morris got the 10 goals.
Like in praise of Ben Morris? Is it gonna
I
be
think
like
so.
yeah? It's
Adam can tell
got
us
to
about,
utilize
like,
Ben Morris City Legend as one of the five. No, that's 6.
Adam.
Never
So
mind.
Jaime's freaking out about this in the WhatsApp chat, and literally Adam just yells something very. What did you yell in the chat? You just said something.
Because he was like kind of like he's trying to make excuses. Oh, I'm not going to have it ready. A haiku is 3 lines. That's it. It's 3 lines. It's not like you're writing some some like some
Yeah,
epic
but
or anything like
trying to
that.
find a connection to nature. What a hassle. Oh yeah, no one does that anymore. Never mind.
Um, but I'm not gonna lie. When I predicted 4-0 and all that, I was kind of
Thought
like,
you're
yeah, I was thinking,
crazy.
huh?
Thought you were crazy.
I thought, okay, and it was mostly manifestation with a little bit of I could potentially see this happening, and y'all take away that moment where San Antonio went full, like everybody except the 2 center backs, which got their goal in the 57th minute before Ben, got his second in the 65th. It was a dominating performance on the road.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at that, if you were to create a loop, which is the first San Antonio away day in our start of our US to start, and then this last one to end the 3-season loop. Look how much seasoned, iron sharpened, aggressive, focused, intent minded we were this time around in San Antonio, as opposed to how San Antonio was now compared to what they were when we played them.
Well,
Yeah,
I think it was interesting
okay.
too. I was going to say just real quick that Sean, you mentioned too that big save that Carlos made earlier on in the match, and really, I mean, maybe what a low key pivotal moment that was when you're a team that, for for the very most part, still has trouble generating offense.
Right.
And you
Well,
talk
like
about packing it in, Sean,
exactly.
if they don't, if Carlos doesn't make that save, it's hard to say Detroit wins by the score that they do. It could be
Yeah.
much more difficult in that
Yeah. If
sense.
we go down a goal, this is probably like a draw. Because they're going to be able to sit back, and we really struggle to create good shots against a settled defense. Like we need to play the game in midfield. That's why we need to create those pseudo transitions. If we're in extended possession, it's really not in our best interest to pin them in deep, because we very seldom do anything good with when we have 8, 9 guys collapsed into the area. They just snuff us out. We don't have anybody, maybe except for Laurent, who thrives in destroying a couple dudes with one touch and like getting into the space there. You know, we like this play. Most of our guys like to play in front of them. And so, you know, that's why you'll often see us after a little bit of possession kind of ease back. Like we'll go back to Devin, and Devin will sort of go back to Stevie, and Stevie's like, you know what? He'll send it back to Carlos, and everybody backs up 10 yards. Like that's because we want to draw them out. We want to create spaces. We want their center backs to go. We want their center backs to use up the space to take it up so that we have space to play in behind. Because if they're settled, we're struggling.
Yeah.
So like, you know, as we go forward, here we are, we're pivoting from past to future right now. It's happening. As we go forward, controlling game state is going to be hugely important in these one-off matches. Not coming out flat and falling behind and having to scrap, which we know we can do. But it's not going to show us in our best light. We're not going to get to see the City that we saw against San Antonio if we fall behind. I wanted to talk particularly just briefly about the specific things I see City doing a lot better. As they've just, because I mean, we are one of the form teams in the league at this point. We've won 7 of our last, what?
We're unbeaten in our last 9, 5 wins, 4 draws.
We're 7-4-1 over last 12 matches. Tampa Bay are 3-1-8.
14 out of the last 15, we've gotten at least a point in.
Right. So just that one loss to Tulsa in there.
Too much rotation.
It sticks in the craw.
Too much rotation.
Yeah. Well, and you know, we reached the part of the season where we were having one match a week, and what do you know? We stopped rotating and we look really good. So, okay, it seems to be working. Don't fix it. The things that I see, the kind of shift to permanently playing in that 4-3, with like kind of figuring out what we like our shape to be, that with Reese keeping or Connor, whoever starts, keeping the width on the right, and Alex in a more defensive position, keeping it on the left, with Maxi back in the pivot with either Ryan or James, and Lai is kind of a destroyer who does a lot of like kind of running with the ball and sort of like a free electron a lot of times. Like all of that is looking really great. The specific things I see are that we are more successful. We're winning more of those challenges where the attackers are checking back into the channel to help us keep possession or help us build out through midfield. Yeah. Like that was something we were losing those duels over and over again. I think maybe those attackers were just being a little bit feckless about realizing like, look, if you lose this duel, we're immediately in a shitload of trouble. Like, you know, now that defender is stepping into a midfield which is going the other direction and is creating an overload on his own with the ball. If he makes one good decision, they're attacking us. So, you know, you've got to win that, or at least make it a squib, make it a second ball that somebody has to play for. And Ben and Connor have been a lot better about that. I think that's part of why Connor has gotten time, is that he's playing a lot better through the buildup than even Reese was. But like that has changed things for us. Putting Maxi back in further in midfield and just cleaning up that turnaround in the channels from the forwards has, you know, made a huge difference. Like, I mean, it really is just kind of amazing, like how much of a difference that has made. We went from kind of, you know, frustrated, like a kind of a constipated team that like clearly was better than its results and just like wanted to just have a big shit. And at some point we did. And like, you know, everything went back into its proper position. And
full of fiber.
Right. Yeah, exactly. The Metamucil finally paid off. And yeah,
Shout out to Novak.
I am just incredibly impressed with how we're playing right now. But having said that, the playoffs obviously are one-offs, and control of game state is hugely, hugely important there. And so the difference on Saturday, like the first goal on Saturday night, is going to be massively important, and will determine what kind of game we see. I think if City get the first goal in the first half, especially, that we're likely to see kind of a breakout win. Like, because Tampa's defense is not good. And they're not good in transition. They're not good against the kind of things that we do in transition. And on the other hand, if they get the early goal and can, settle back into where their back seven are just playing, or they're just going to a broken team, seven playing defense, three guys up top. Those three guys are good. They are clever. And they're going to have chances to counterattack us 3-on-3 for the rest of the match once they go up a goal. Yeah. So game state's usually important.
Wait, Sean. So
Yeah.
this isn't a best of 3 like in MLS
Fucking
Like, okay, here's what I don't like. I just don't understand. Like they tried so many weird things, and best of 3 just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It's so like it works in baseball.
Damn right it
Or
works
basketball.
Baseball, but
like it doesn't work in soccer. A game where like, oh, are you going to just go to penalties every match to get a just that's not what you do, right? They're trying to do like goals. Like if you win both matches, you go through. You don't have to play the third one. Okay. I mean, so like you're creating like ticketing and all kinds of problems for yourself. Like,
yeah.
just do fucking two-legged shit all the way through it. Like, I think they have a one-off round and then like this best of 3 round. Like, oh, okay, why not make both of those two-legged ties? Like, what the fuck are you doing?
It's the whole it's not football, it's soccer mentality that they have.
I mean, it's so tired. Like,
It
bro,
is.
it's just it's the kind of thing where it's like, they're talking about going to the fall spring calendar, right? And it reminds me of the tech bros who invent like buses and think they've invented something new. Like, okay, we're going to have these big SUV type deals, and they're going to go on a regular route instead of just responding to you when you call. Okay, there's going to be like a regular route that they'll go on. I'm calling it like Big Uber or Super Fat Uber or something like that. What do you think, bro? Like, it's buses, dickhead. You just invented buses. Like, and that's what I feel like the MLS is doing. Is like, we're thinking about spring to fall. Like, oh my God, oh, and I just don't. There's reasons why we don't do that here. You've got a franchise that plays in an open air stadium in Minnesota, dude, and you're gonna take a 5-week break? Like, Minnesota's winter is like from now until April.
If you're lucky, it might
like,
go even to May.
Like, I mean, it's just I get why you want to do it, right? Obviously, that's the conversation has been ongoing for a quarter century for a reason. It's hard to trade players back and forth, and that's what this is really about. Is that the billionaires who own MLS think they can make money doing player arbitrage, being a kind of finishing school for South American talent before it goes to Europe, and that they can tap into some of those sweet fees without doing much, just by hiring a few scouts and giving a few guys playing time. And like, I would feel better about it if it wasn't obviously driven by greed. Like everything MLS does. If there was any hint of this being better for the players, better for the supporters, better for the people who care. But I don't think there's anything to that. Like, they aren't presenting it that way, as if like, oh, we thought the fans would like it. Like, no, I mean, if you really want to have your opening day just be ignored because it's the same day as the Premier League, go ahead. Like, but Americans, the number one league in America is the Premier League.
Then getting engulfed by the NFL too throughout that time period.
Right. So, I mean, I just think it's, I get why you do it. It would make your football manager save a lot easier. But like, we did this for a reason. North America's winters are much fiercer. Like I said last week, like, you know, if the Atlantic current shuts down, well, so like MLS just needs to hold fire, and Europe will switch to a spring to winter calendar after a few horrible, you know, like ice age winters. So
Real, I know you wanted to talk about goals for City, and I think I wanted to bring up a good point. Detroit City, in the Eastern Conference, is the second fewest goals scored total, with 46 scored in 34 games. However, upward trends in this 9-match unbeaten run, they've scored 15 and 9 and have allowed only 5. So you're looking to see, whereas if you did like that over the course of the season, they'd be on a much higher pace for goals, as they were. Obviously, that middle stretch did some damage for their offensive numbers. So let's get into how everything is looking into the playoffs. So we had talked about it last episode. Saturday was going to be a chaos day for determining seeding in the Eastern Conference. We now know that we're going to be playing the Tampa Bay Rowdies after they pretty much they knew they were getting in. It was about who's going to be 4, who's going to be 3, who was going to be 4, who was going to be 5, all the way through 8. Loudoun United eliminated themselves earlier in the evening, losing the Charleston Battery 2-1. North Carolina fell behind to the Las Vegas Light side at home. Bag 2. North Carolina's in. They hold the last spot in the Eastern Conference playoffs. The reward for that is they get to go to Louisville. Pittsburgh Riverhounds took on bottom feeders in the Western Conference. El Paso were 2-0 up within 20 minutes. Saw that match out. They are in the 7th seed. They will be taking on Charleston Battery. Later on, although I will say this, though, if you're a Charleston Battery fan, I'd probably be shitting a fucking brick right now.
yeah,
so
they're the hottest team in the league. Pittsburgh is the hottest team in the league.
So, and the fewest goals scored out of all the Eastern Conference playoff teams, but the best defensive record in the USL Championship. There's only 2 teams in the entire USL Championship that allowed less than a goal a game this season. 2 out of 24 teams. Pittsburgh Riverhounds is number 1 with 28 goals allowed. Detroit City is second with 32. So that tells you something right there. Rhode Island took advantage of the fact that they were playing Miami. Won 8-1.
Yep.
They're in the 5. And the 6th seed is by way of a 3-0. Adam, you and I were on the phone for the first part of this game with Tampa and Indy. Tampa just went in and just basically, we'll reiterate, Indy was the ones that showed up to a fight with no weapons, and Tampa had the fucking Magalite.
It seemed like Tampa was very glad to be playing back in Florida.
Yeah.
And and they came out and they destroyed Indy, start to finish.
So
yeah. So I've done a little, you know, I mean, I'm preparing to do all the preview work for preview writing this week. So I've been, you know, kind of getting into Tampa Bay. Like, okay, so the 3-0 win over Indy is a cautionary data point, right?
Right.
You know, it really was one of those matches where it just kind of seemed like one team was much more up for it than the other. You know, they were just kind of winning all the 50-50 duels. Indy looked a little like stodgy and uncreative. And yeah, they got pumped. Indy got pumped. The thing for Tampa Bay is, like, they have been like, okay, people talk about the hurricane, the 2 hurricanes that kind of blew through town. Like, yes, that was horrible, but they were terrible before all that. stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Like they over the last 12 matches, they've won 3, drawn 1, lost 8.
Yep.
The they kind of like they have a tendency to play well against better teams. Like they beat Indy, they beat Pittsburgh in that stretch. And the other
Beat
win was
Louisville earlier in the year.
yeah, they beat Louisville early in the year. You know, on the strength of the team is the front line. And it's a very kind of Serie A kind of front line where you've got Manuel Arteaga, who's not a big, but not a tall guy, but a very physical player, who is just kind of a
Pain in the ass.
bulldozer. In the middle as a target forward, and you've got 2 kind of cunning, like number 10 types behind him, and Leo Fernandez and Cal Jennings. And like Fernandez is a former like league MVP. Cal Jennings is the guy who's not over 30 in the front line, and they're they're quick, they're good athletes, they're very creative. You know, we want to avoid situations where they are, where like the situation where Lai had the ball against San Antonio for Ben's goal, where he, it's like a basketball fast break. The point guard is kind of assessing the situation, giving it to the guy on the wing who's firing it into the back post run. Like it looked like basketball. If we get ourselves into situations like that against those 3, we are going to have a very difficult time. So we need to keep control of the game. Their midfield is not great. They work hard. They play a little deep. They try to get the ball forward quickly to those front 3. They are a team that tends to build a little gap between midfield and attack. And to me, their defense looks underwhelming. Probably because, and that's probably why the midfield plays so deep, right? Their captain is Aaron Guillen, and he just looks cooked to me. Like, I don't know. He's like 31 or 32, and like he has lost a lot of pace, and he's playing on the left center back position, which is where Devin plays for us. And just imagine Devin, like 2 steps slower. That's Guillen's problem, right? Even now, Devin against some right wingers is kind of like hanging on for dear life against a really quick guy. Guillen just gets cooked. So Kleeman is the center back. He's kind of seems like feels like a lot of responsibility because Guillen's getting cooked. I don't know. I mean, they're a defense that you can start once you start them wobbling, they tend to just kind of crumple. They've given up 3 goals or more, like 6 times in the last 10 games. So I mean, like I feel good about our chances against them.
Rowdy scored 55 goals in the regular season. Of those 55 goals, 32 of them came from Manuel Arteaga and Cal Jennings.
Yeah.
During the 2 matches in the regular season, Arteaga scored basically a stoppage time goal in the second matchup in St. Pete, which was a 3-2 City win.
Mm-hmm.
But other than some being a pain in the ass in Detroit in Hamtramck on July the 6th, I think we did relatively well keeping them at bay. Blake Bodley also on the left wing for them in that 4-man midfield with 6 assists. So is it pretty much you shut those guys, you limit their input and limit their ability to cause havoc?
I think that they can be had through the buildup. I think their problems are very similar to the problems that we were having earlier in the season. I think they can be, we can turn them over through in the midfield. And how we do that is extremely technical, right? It'll be like, okay, we know we're going to trap here and here, and here's how we're trying to shuffle a guy this way or that way. I don't know exactly what we're going to do. It's something they'll do based on what they're seeing on film. And I haven't gone that deep into it, if I'm being honest. I've watched the games, but I haven't stopped and backed up and go, okay, gotta make notes here. So yeah, I am extremely sanguine about our chances on Saturday. At the same time, I think that everybody needs to understand that the best you're going to get in this situation is like a 67% chance of winning. Like, even if it's home, a single game knockout match, like really is like you can just a fluke goal, it hits Stevie in the ass, and goes in the goal. No one's at fault, but now we're down a goal, and
That's the game.
this just got real hard. Yeah. Um, you know, the other thing that is different about this team than any other team we've ever had is that we have guys like Laurent Kissidou on the bench. And I would expect to see him at halftime if we're losing, if he doesn't start. And I don't think he will start. I don't think Danny will mix it up that much.
I think you got Alvis Amos been on the bench a bit. Jesse Alcedeno.
Yeah.
I feel like
I'm just saying, like from what I'm seeing from Laurent, he looks like he is in form. That goal he scored the other day was just fantastic. So simple. Just like, I can hit that spot. Like, this guy's not covering your post well enough. Ding.
It's something that we've been just needing forever. It seems like a guy that can do something like that.
And the one finish of Ben's, like the first one was just finishing across. He did it cleanly. But the other finish was like, that was a confident finish. Like a real striker's finish. Like, man, okay, if Ben can produce goals like that, like he'll have another level to, like, okay, we'll go from being a workman-like striker to like a dangerous striker. Like, that would be great. And I think that might be in the cards. We'll see.
He'd find himself back at Ipswich.
Right. I think, I like, okay, if they get relegated, and I like, let's be honest, it looks like that's it's likely to happen.
Them in Crystal Palace.
I would not be surprised if they reach out to him.
On Sunday, watch it.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Ipswich would reach out to him. If they're in the championship. Just like, probably not like, here's a bunch of money. Like, I think he would struggle in the championship. But as like a low cost depth guy, if he wanted to come home, and he'll have that decision to make. Like, do I want to make basically do I make a little more money and go home? Or do I want to
make a little less?
Do I want to stay here and keep building the legend? Excuse me just a moment.
Ben Lawrence, goal machine, baby. So before we get into predictions for this match, let's kind of let's do predictions on all for the first Eastern Conference. I'll name the West. We don't have to predict the West ones, but I'll name what the West playoff matches are, just because 7 of those 7, there's only one team that if we make it to the final, we'd have to go to, and that's New Mexico United. Detroit City. Detroit City has a better record than the remaining 7 Western Conference teams. So Western Conference round 1, New Mexico United hosting Phoenix Rising. Phoenix Rising side who won at New Mexico just a couple weeks ago.
I'm gonna say upset in that one. I'm gonna take Phoenix.
You're going Phoenix.
Phoenix.
Okay, we're doing Western predictions. Sean, what about you?
No, I think New Mexico takes it. They're still playing well.
It's a grind one. It's going to be a grind 1-0, maybe 2-1. But the Lab, I think the New Mexico may be up for it in there. It'll be a fight. It'll be a fight though. Phoenix is getting a little bit grittier. Struggling to score goals. They scored 33 this year, which is shocking when you look at that, considering, but they did lose a lot from that title-winning team last year.
Yeah, they're very much like first-year City, like just grindy. Sorry.
Yeah, maybe even last year, maybe even second-year City, if you think about it, with maybe just a little bit more attack. With that kind of like, because when they've had bad games, they've had some bad games this year.
Yeah.
Colorado Springs were Detroit City's opening opponent of this regular season. Our match. City was their second match. Colorado Springs lost their first 5 matchups of the year, but rebounded in a way to go and wind up second place in the Western Conference, because this is what the USL Championship can be like. Hosting a Oakland Roots side that ended the regular season losing at home 0-5 to Birmingham Legion, who did not make the Eastern Conference playoffs.
Yeah, it's really like some of the results at the end of the season make it seem like it's possible that the West is just really bad.
Right.
Mhm.
Roots
Because-
gave up 57 goals this year.
I mean, the Roots defense has obviously got a problem.
Yeah.
But you know, do you think that did Birmingham get the go near post on Blanchett message? Because that's what City did to him. Just go near post every time, like, you know, when we beat him 3, but when we scored 3 goals against him.
Don't kick him don't kick Adam.
Yeah.
Go near
Well,
post.
like, you know, don't give him a chance to lay out spectacularly. Like,
No.
just hit it right by him. He's not that that good at that. Anyway,
Switchbacks by 2 goals.
yeah, I think it's switchbacks like rolling.
Yeah.
I think they probably come out of the West, if I'm guessing at this point. I mean, they are a side that has never been afraid to spend money. They have had guys in the league who are getting legit money for this league, you know. And I haven't been paid. I haven't been paid. Yeah. And I haven't looked into what they've done, but I kind of assumed that they kind of reloaded in August, that they got a couple guys in and have, you know, had righted the ship before then. Yeah, I think they're going to win easily against Oakland. I'm sorry. I like the Roots. I was glad that they were doing well, but then they stopped doing well. So rest in peace.
3-6 matchup. Memphis 901 hosting Orange County. Memphis has been hot and cold. Last basically 7, only 1 loss. Couple wins, but they've had the ability to slip on a banana peel at certain times in big situations. Orange County seemed to have clicked, especially when they picked up sacked Phoenix boss Danny Stone, who became OC's new boss. I'm going road upset here. I'm going to go OC 1-0.
I think this will be the lowest attended match of the first round.
Such a shame.
And I think that Orange County wins this. I've got to hands up. I don't pay much attention to the Western Conference. I've only got so much time in my life, and I've got a lot of video games to play. So, Baldur's Gate takes hundreds of hours to get through, guys. I can't watch the Western Conference. I'm sorry. So anyway, I haven't been following Memphis at all, but that seems like that is a franchise, a club that is struggling at an existential level.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think it's possible that they lose this match and it is the final match in their history, or it's the final match in the championship, and that they will be a League One team when we next see them. That would be my guess. Which would be a kick in the teeth for, self-relegating after finishing third in the West. But,
yeah,
what are you going to do? Do you have $2 million for him to lose every year? I don't.
I'm going to go just strictly traveling across country, because this is one of those odd, we're in the West, but we're not really in the West.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, they do.
I'm
It's a long trip.
It's a long trip. Just for that alone, fuck it. I guess I'll go Memphis. And I'll look like an idiot next week. So I'll take 901.
Or a genius.
Or a genius. So
Now, this is going to be something that now on to the last Western Conference matchup, the 4-5 game. If you would have told me this was going to be the first round matchup, I would have said you're fucking crazier than my dear beloved mother who has schizophrenia. Sherry, I love you.
My
I see you this
God.
week.
Jesus
Wow.
I love her.
Scorching.
Relationships and honesty is the best thing.
Yes.
Sacramento Republic are the 5 seed, folks.
Yeah.
And they are going to Las Vegas Lights.
I mean, I like the Lights here, which I can't believe I'm saying.
Yeah.
But they've been the better team over the season and over the last few weeks, and Sacramento, like, really, I was frustrated that they signed Trevor Amon, and he came on in the season and did what I thought he would do, which is maybe not play in a super connected way, but got some goals. And they decided that wasn't good enough and basically benched him, and have been like kind of wandering around looking for a goal scorer since then.
Kieran Phillips looks like the guy, although he's only got 12. Amon had 9.
Right. And those all came early, if I remember. Like he was, in the second month of the season, I was like, why didn't we sign Trevor Amon? But I feel, much better about the lack of contract now. I think in Las Vegas, we've talked about them before. I think it's a great story for USL to, to have a sports legend investment that seems very community focused and also immediately gets traction on the field. Like that is, so often it's one or the other, right? They'll start doing well in the field and you learn that they're just doing nothing in the community, or the reverse. There, lots of encouraging signs to the community, but the team is just fucking awful. And so, nice to see both things happening so quickly. Yeah.
So you're going Lights. What about you, Adam?
I've got to go with our old keeper, Armando, who is the keeper's coach there at Las Vegas now.
Is that where he is? Awesome.
Yeah. And Joey Bat Flips, taking down the Sac Republic. Sac Republic, they're kind of in a little bit of turmoil too. I mean, you've got their owner.
Yeah.
You've got their owner on Twitter talking shit to the fans and the supporters, and it's just it seems like things are kind of a mess right now in Sacramento.
Right.
So
I have a feeling, didn't that owner it's the same guy that wanted to go MLS, right?
yeah.
And I think he made another run at it and got like straight Heisman by MLS. They were just like, look, we're not talking to you.
So he bought in the
Thank you for your interest.
His Twitter handle has MLS in it.
Yeah.
It's like Kevin something MLS. It's like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Like
I'm guessing
so
that
bad.
this dude is like feeling like, I'm sick of running this like tiny ass little team. Like I should be in MLS,
And you could see it too. Like, why would MLS went to Sacramento just because it seemed like, okay, well, there's nobody else,
like
ready to make that jump, and we need to keep this grip.
They're getting 10,000 people in the stadium occasionally, so
that's what Ponzi schemes do. They need to keep on, they need to keep on going. They need to keep on getting that money.
But if you can't pay in, they can't keep it going. And that was the thing.
Exactly.
Sacramento was like, well, like, 200 million. They were just like, well, no, like that's crazy. We can't pay that. And of course now it's like 500 million.
Yeah, and Sacramento's not an MLS city. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, you've got the Bay Area. Just,
MLS doesn't talk about cities; they talk about markets. It's not an MLS market.
It's not an MLS market. Yes, you're exactly right. Especially too, because you've got the Bay Area market. Just essentially down the street, but
south of you,
almost down the street, and
right. That's why they want to come into Detroit, right? They've got no representation in this market whatsoever, and we are the connector between, like, for all the Rust Belt towns. Like you got Chicago, but not Detroit. Then you don't have Cleveland. You don't have Buffalo.
It's a top 15 market too.
Right.
Top 15 media market. So Sacramento is not a top 15 media market. Sorry, Garrett, go ahead.
Sacramento's top
Just
15
nerding out
media
about
market.
markets.
Their owners invested heavily in Huddersfield Town and took USL CEO from them to basically work for him at Huddersfield Town. So could he essentially do what I think we might see with our the Junshais and Sharda, and since they have who have since divested heavily into Europeans, which might mean that their local here might fade away? One could hope, but I wonder if Sacramento.
I mean, I don't want them to fade away. You know, if they're not going to invest in the side, there's a lot of capital in that area. I hope they put it on the market.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there's another fool who thinks he can be smarter, with hundreds of millions of dollars in that area.
What other father of a talented kid have we ruined? Have robbed? Now is about they want to get payback on us. I'm sure there's a list somewhere, but yeah, I think that'd be very interesting. Sacramento really nosediving going into September. 2 wins, only 2 wins, lost 6 times.
Right. Well, like if you think about it, what didn't Sacramento and Tampa Bay play in a final together?
Sacramento's made the U.S. Open Cup final.
They've never made it. Yeah, that's right. They've never made
but they made the conference final last year.
That's right. They've never succeeded in the playoffs. I just it's very similar to Tampa in terms of the when they fell off, how they fell off.
Yeah.
And football teams are complicated things, and a couple parts getting out of synchronization can fuck the whole thing up, and it is often difficult to figure out exactly what is happening while the match is going on, right? Afterward, you can watch the tape a bunch of times and go, okay. But as it's going on, a lot of times it's difficult to spot. You're like, okay, well, we're trying to do what we wanted to do, but it's not working the way we thought, and
it's just not making sense.
Don't know why. Yeah, that's that's what's happened to these guys. It's not like they didn't have a huge number of injuries, although Tampa lost Forrest Lasso, who is, kind of their leader emotionally, I think, and also they're a massive target on set pieces, kind of their get out of jail free card. If they completely fucked up, they can always lob it at Forrest, and he's good for a goal, out of nowhere. So they don't have that, and so they have Kleeman. Yeah.
Right.
Anyway.
So 2 of you are going to Vegas. I'm going to make it 3. Vintage Jose Batista style bat flip at Cashman here. 2-0 Lights. I think they're going to be up for it. They got Bennett and Newell both in double-digit goal scorers. I don't know what to expect attendance-wise, but I think the fact that they went from worst to a playoff spot and caught everybody off guard, well done. Keep it going.
Bring back the Llamas.
Yeah. I mean, if you're willing to mark the tickets down a little bit, you can usually get butts and seats in Las Vegas. So I don't know. We'll see what they want to do, whether they're going to try to make maximum money or make maximum noise. But that'll be interesting. So now, and let's predict the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, and Vegas Sacramento opens up the playoffs, but now Eastern Conference matchups are all on Saturday. So North Carolina gets in, first year back in the USL Championship, won League One last year. They get in, last playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. Their reward for that is they get to go to Louisville. North Carolina scored a bunch. Both of these games, I think, with North Carolina and Louisville this year have been shootouts. The last one was North Carolina 4, Louisville 6 on August 31st.
Yep.
And the game in Louisville was a 2-1 Louisville win on June the 8th. North Carolina's going to make it difficult. I think they'll bag 1. But I can see them making it difficult for Louisville. but I can see Louisville should get to the second round here.
Yeah, I think unless Louisville has several, and like I want to say that Louisville do not come across to me as a team with a championship mentality, right? We have seen them. Well, I mean, we saw like when we played them last time. We've seen them kind of self-destruct in various scenarios. They struggle with they kind of seem to bring a sense of entitlement to the pitch that
Absolutely.
that
Absolutely.
really doesn't play well in USL. The refs aren't having it. The other team isn't having it.
Nope.
Like it's like yeah. So in North Carolina are the most physical team in the league, I would say. Like their
Most
press,
counter team
their
too.
their
They
press
love a counter.
bodies the shit out of you. Like when they press, what they do is run until they run into you, and that's a press. And you know the patterns are more complex than I'm describing them, but I mean they really do believe in putting physical pressure on the ball as quickly as possible. Um, and that is the kind of opponent that like you could see Louisville like starting to go into like the kind of the like the music going weird, wobbly and weird, and like, them just sort of like starting to freak the fuck out, and you know, um, uh, what's his name, Wilson,
Harris.
Harris Wilson, yeah, the man with two last names.
Boy, Van lucky motherfucker.
Yeah, I mean he's so good, but he also you know, uh, yeah, he's not what I would describe as mentally tough, although he'll usually perform well while doing a lot of complaining. The other guys on the team, like um the 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 midfielder, I'm blanking on everyone's name.
Adrian
Uh
Perez.
no, his brother just got sold. Um
Oh, Elijah Winder.
yes, Elijah Winder has really grown into being a fantastic USL Championship midfielder this year, and I expect he's going to be sold. If he hasn't been already, he's going to be sold fairly soon. Um, but he's a young guy, and I could see him having I could see them coming unglued. However, having said that, like this is a really deep and talented team for this league, and you know they're well coached. Um, if they keep their powder dry and just play their football, it's 3-1 win, like pretty easy. Um, but if North Carolina can get their head a little bit, um, and you know get them complaining in front of a quiet home crowd, then they got a chance.
Yeah. Other players to look out for in Louisville, real quick. Taylor Davila, left footer, central midfielder next to Elijah Winder.
Yeah, he is. If you're playing, if any football manager players that are listening, he is a fantastic pickup. He's almost always a free agent. The USA is a young midfielder.
Scored against
But
City last year.
he's very good. Yeah, like an all-rounder, right? Physically, like strong, quick,
All
like just a baller, like really, really fucking good. And yeah, I mean, this is the kind of players that Louisville have. Like they have players that are, around the top 20 in their position in the league, like they're backups, Um, so anyway.
Yeah, and then Jake Morris, Aiden McFadden, Ray Serrano. Those are some of the other guys to look out for. Adam, what are you feeling on that?
I think this is a matchup. Yeah, Louisville's gonna match up well with just about any team in this league. This one though, it does raise little questions. Sean, you kind of touched on it a little bit um already. When it comes to getting in their heads, we saw City do it earlier in the season.
I mean,
Um,
yeah,
this is
comprehensively.
some Yeah, I mean, this is something. I mean, the way that North Carolina plays, they can certainly do that as well. Um, they are physical, and I'm talking about North Carolina. And Lou City does play very entitled. just from what I could remember, standing in that media tent, hearing them warm up or hearing the conversations, they're warming up. They are a very, very entitled team. And um I think Lou City takes this. But I think it can be it may turn into a little bit of a grind for them.
Yeah.
Um so I'm gonna take Lou City. I think Lou City has the potential to win by, multiple goals here, but I think it can be a grind a little bit for them, leading up to that final whistle in the second half.
So now I'm going to go into the 5-4, which I think, especially Louisville will cause issues for. One, being that it could be an old rival, and two, it could be a team that they did not beat this year and got embarrassed on home soil by. I'm talking Indy v. Rhode Island. That's the 4-5. 11 hosting on there, but I honestly think Rhode Island in there. I think Rhode Island are going to be the ones going to Louisville in round 2. They're playing well. Indy's been inconsistent.
I have a question. Is the draw set in this, or do we reassign according to?
It's brackets
you
now.
It's brackets now.
It's brackets
Yeah,
now.
I hate when they do the
1-8,
reassigning
4-5,
thing. Right.
7-2 versus 3, 7-2 versus 6-3.
Okay.
So it would be Indy, Rhode Island winner phase the winner of Louisville and North Carolina, but I think it's going to be Rhode Island beating Indy.
Rhode Island. It's hard for me not to feel like there isn't going to be some karmic snapback for putting the boot in against Miami in the final match, like Rhode Island did. Like I don't think there was goal difference involved with their final position. It was down to like matchups and points, which are the first, the points and then matchups, which is the first tiebreaker, I think. So you're just clowning these broken ass kids for your own amusement. Like, I don't know. It's pretty grim. 8-1. Like, come on.
5-0 at halftime.
Yeah. Like, and
5-1 at halftime. 5-1.
But and I'm sure it's one of those matches where you clear the bench and now you got all these hungry young kids out there who want to show something, and they're up against guys who've basically given up. So, they're still feasting. I get how it happens. But I think that really, like, as a leader or manager of people, when you're up 5-1 at halftime, you're going to set the stage for around the 60th minute, saying, okay, like, everybody, like, let's just let the clock run. Like, it's not like we're being dicks about this. And then Indy, backed into the playoffs. I mean, they played well for like, it seems like their hot streak, like, they just kind of sputtered out over the last like month of the season and got walloped by Tampa Bay, who were, seemingly much more motivated than them in that match. And yeah, it's hard to pick against Rhode Island, except that, Indy might be like the various emotional states of the teams, I think, are in Indy's favor, because Indy's like, you don't feel like a big man after you pummel a teammate 1. You know what I mean? You feel a little grimy. Like, okay, that got out of hand, and Indy are feeling stung and like angry, and they have historically responded to that as a prompt fairly well.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think Indy's going to win this. I think it's going to be ugly. But in a match where Indy sets out to kind of neutralize Rhode Island, and where Rhode Island is suddenly playing against, actual Division II professionals, and that the little party you threw last weekend is not keeping you in the best form. So yeah, I think 1-0 to the 11.
Adam, what about you? I know you've been seeing this opportunity. What will Brickyard Battalion do?
I would love to see Brickyard Battalion in absolute shambles, and I think they will be when Rhode Island wins in penalties.
Nice.
You savage.
After a scoreless draw. Just a
Um,
squalid affair.
I think I messaged Matt from Tide Talk, Rhode Island supporter podcast that I've won when they were kicking them early. I was like, Jesus, y'all, what's on there? Do you not want to come to Keyworth and play us? And they loved that they were on fire. I go, what the fuck is going on with y'all? He didn't know either. So it's going to be one of those weird things. But I think the winner of that game can really cause some issues for what I think that one of those two teams that goes to Louisville. Now for our region, 7v2, Pittsburgh Riverhounds going to Charleston Battery. Ben Caesar Pillman.
I think they get the full Caesar experience. They are absolutely stymied by Pittsburgh at home. They lose 0-2 to the Riverhounds
In Pittsburgh, yeah.
No, it's in.
Oh,
Charleston.
you're picking this. You're picking 0-2. You're picking 0-2 for this one. Okay.
Right. I'm saying that Pittsburgh, shuts out Charleston, and gets a couple goals, kind of scrappy goals, out of transition, and Charleston season's over. I think the Riverhounds are, a little terrifying right now. But they're terrifying in a way we understand. I think maybe more than some of the other teams in the league do.
Adam, what about you?
I completely agree. I think Pittsburgh rolls into Charleston and takes them out, and they pack Nick Markanich's bags for him, and he's on his way to Europe. So, yeah, I think Pittsburgh wins this one.
And Godspeed to the kid. Like, well, we're all fucking cheering for you. Like,
Yeah, that's
I don't understand people who are like, you see a dude go to a higher level and you're like, he played for Charleston. Like, bro, this is the thing. Like, we're hoping these guys get their dreams, right? Like, come on.
This is how moving up happens.
Right, exactly. It's cool. I'm glad they got the best out of him and were able to showcase him like that. Like, that's great.
I got guys averaging a goal a game wherever that is. Talent are going to love that, especially us sitting on this side.
Right.
How many goals did he score against City though?
Yeah,
one.
Yeah, he did score one.
Penalty, though.
We typically did a pretty good job against him, because our part of our thing is that our defense is really aware of the situation they're in, and not just kind of drifting through the match. So he can't just like slide into spaces unnoticed. We are kind of going beep 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 every time he's around, like sort of shading toward him. Like, okay, we focus on him a lot, while without man marking him, but just look for the skinny kid.
Adam, what are you going scoreline on this one?
And Charleston, Pittsburgh.
Yeah, are you going 0-2 also? Or are you going?
I'm gonna take this one to penalties as well.
Oh God, ultimate Caesar meltdown. Inject that into my veins.
1-1 heading into penalties.
1-1 after extra time. Officially a draw.
Yes.
0-0 the first time both these teams played in Charleston on June 8th. And then
it feels like 0-0 is like a 60% chance anytime Pittsburgh takes a pitch. Like,
yeah. And then Pittsburgh beat Charleston 2-0 in Pittsburgh after Charleston blew a lead against us the weekend before. So the Les Rouge effect. Charleston Battery 0, Pittsburgh Riverhounds 2. Although I feel like one of those goals is going to be off a Riverhounds set piece, because whether it's near post or far post, they're getting their guys going. And yeah, Ben and Caesar got attacking, but informed Lily Ball on the road in playoffs.
Yep.
Um,
I'm a big Canardo Forbes truther. I think he's fantastic. So yeah, I think Pittsburgh are playing the best football maybe in the league right now.
Gives us bagging goals. Sterling's in there too. Robbie Mertz, who some may remember, U of M grad.
Yep.
So the they can be a difficult nightmare, especially with their defensive record. So now
we'll talk about them next week.
Because it's main event time, motherfuckers.
Right.
Tampa Bay Rowdies have been going to a lot of places. They've experienced a lot of pain. They're coming into, like Pittsburgh Riverhound, one of the top 2 informed teams in all of the USL Championship. I argue maybe even more so when you look at the last 15 that Detroit City have done. First time ever Keyworth Stadium's hosting a USL Championship playoff game under the lights, 7 p.m.
Yep.
Gonna be a little cold,
Prime time. Yeah, get out your winter stuff. Like it's gonna be cold. But I think this is. There's a scoreline that kept cropping up for Tampa as they staggered down the stretch, and it's 3-1. And I think that's what happens here this week. I think they struggle to create much. I think we probably get a fairly comfortable lead, give up a goal, and immediately return the favor. And spend the last 15 minutes holding the ball in the corner and farting around while the crowd goes crazy. Yeah, I think we win this, and I think we win it pretty comprehensively.
Who are your goal scorers?
Maxi, Devin, and Laurent.
All right. Adam, what about you, bud?
I'm going 2-1 City, and I hate saying the 2-1 score because it seems like I always say 2-1, but I'm going to go 2-1. City, I'm going to say Kisidu gets the second one at around the 60-65 mark in the second. Tampa gets a late one. I'm going to say close to extra time, not quite in extra time yet, to make things interesting, but City holds on for the win. That first goal comes courtesy of Reese.
Reese. Truly a left field pick. I like it. So he hasn't started a lot recently, but he's going to start and get the goal.
Reese has been, because Reese has been. He's been.
I think Reese and Connor have been kind of in and out.
Yeah, or Reese has been the wide guy, and Connor's been more up top with Ben, or more inside. Yeah. So it's very, very interesting, all of it.
Yeah, I like the way that we use our depth and switch guys in and out.
So I'm gonna think. I feel like, as we've talked about, I think this is gonna be Carlos Saldana's run and goal.
Yeah.
Expect him on. I think you should, unless something weird happens, he's going to probably be the one between the sticks on Saturday.
Like Nate's still preparing like he's going to play, but I think unless Carlos gets hurt, he's playing all the minutes now.
I am going to predict here. Ryan Williams keeps his spot 3 matches in a row.
Hasn't put a foot wrong. Like I can see how his positioning is a little looser than James's. He does kind of sometimes get caught in the flow of the game a little more than James does. But he's like, that's improved over the course of the season.
Yeah.
And what he adds on set pieces is just so game much. And in these games that are so finely poised, like having a guy who can just can look at that 26-yard free kick and be like, this is awesome. Like, this is a goal. Like, and nobody, like, he's good at it when no one else is standing there saying, well, I think I got this. Like he went up to it and everybody was like, okay, yeah, that's you. Yeah. So
If
yeah,
Nate
I think
starts
he's
again,
safe.
if Nate starts again and they get another late penalty, does Nate take it?
I mean,
We
you know,
might have a fight on the field.
right.
Rowdy's people
Well, I
will
really
fight.
feel okay. So I feel like it is possible that Nate plays again this year, but the scenario is this: it's the last 5 minutes of the USL Championship match, and we are 2
4-0 up.
goals ahead. Yeah, 3 goals ahead, and he gets subbed
Oh,
into,
man.
like, that's the I think that's the only scenario in which Nate sees or Carlos gets hurt. Like, he's still our
God,
backup keeper, but I think he's
the
back.
crowd would become unhinged at that point if that were to
Oh my
happen.
Lord. Yeah. If we're playing at home, which I mean, we'd
Oh,
likely,
yeah.
things could break very easily in a way that means that we just stay at home through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Which would be amazing. And the league would be like, darn, I don't think they would be real upset about it. You know
I
what
don't
I'm
think
saying?
they would either.
Like, okay, this looks good for us.
Except for Devin Kerr and Mike Watt. They would be
Right, exactly. They'd
upset
be like,
too.
yeah, back here again. Like, somebody get them a room in the casino, please. Like, we'll turn their frown upside down. Come on.
I'm gonna go. Sean, you went 3-1. Adam, you went 2-1. So
You're going 1-1?
no, fuck that. I'm going 2-0, baby.
2-0.
I'm gonna go. Somebody's got to do a clean sheet here.
True.
I'm going to say Ben Morris continues the hot hand.
That's a
And
good shout. I felt bad not giving Ben one of the goals because he has been playing really super well.
And maybe we've talked about him always having an engine, but engines sometimes come up with key goals and key moments, and Connor Rutz has done that a couple of times this year. Connor Rutz gets the second.
Yeah, I mean, I am so delighted and surprised and impressed by the improvement I've seen in Connor's game. Like, he is playing quickly and simply. He's doing the simple things well. His obviously he's always covered a ton of ground, but like, he's doing so more intelligently now and really helping in the build up in a way that, like, before, if he was the guy showing, you'd be kind of like cringing a little bit. Like, is this going to be a donkey touch or, whatever? And it just doesn't feel like that now. Like,
he feels he's a sharpened human now.
Right. Right. I'm super impressed with how much sharper he looks than he has for a while. So I'm glad to see it, and long may it continue.
So I'm gonna ask one question to get it to roll out, and then we'll go into outros. Sean, I know you talked about Pittsburgh being the matchup we did not want to have in round one. If our predictions go through in both, they would be the round 2 matchup.
Yep.
Better matchup than in round 1, or still shitting a brick?
I mean, I don't think it's not a great matchup for us, but we're not a great matchup for them. Like, we are very similar sides in terms of talent level. Now, I think Pittsburgh had a slight advantage before. I think maybe we might have a slight advantage now, because a lot of their talent, like, they just kind of stood pat, and so everybody's a year older. We're accustomed to playing matches where we've got to be defensively pretty flawless. And we'll be at home.
And it's Detroit City, Pittsburgh Riverhounds.
Right.
It's,
but I mean, it will be
Steel Army.
It will be like, I think, the most, probably since maybe that NISA championship match that where we were pretty packed and it was pretty pulsating. It'll be the kind of mobbiest, angriest, like, thunderfuck crowd of the season if it's Pittsburgh.
God, I can't inject that into my fucking veins.
Yeah, it's going to be like, I mean, if I was USL Championship, like, office, I'd be kind of like, let's make this happen, please. Like, because it'll be compelling. And they'll play it during prime time again, and it'll be great. I would, like, Pittsburgh are the team that I'm worried about watching them play the last month, but I've also watched us play last month, and if we can come out and play well, like we can win this title. Like we can do it. It's there. Like these guys can do it. We don't have to imagine like what's the piece they need to do to get to they've got the pieces they need to win this. They'd have to play very well, but they have been playing very well. So they just have to keep playing very well. And like we could win the whole fucking thing, like for real.
And even John Morrissey in his USL backfield ratings has us ranked number 2 in the league, and as you mentioned, as a title contender.
It's like, I mean, the evolution of the team over the last 6 weeks has taken us to a new level. And it is extremely encouraging for the beginning of the DKO era, to see the arrow point so firmly up at this point of the season. Now, we go out, lay an egg, and we're talking about a different situation in a week, right? We're starting to evaluate players, like do the off-season thing. But that's what makes this playoffs fun, right? Is that it really is all there. There's this kind of little trail up the mountain to glory, and a swamp that you fall off into otherwise.
Deep, dark, black abyss as daylight savings time ends and we hit fucking darkness.
Right.
So it's gonna be fun.
The air going out of the summer.
7:00 Saturday night Eastern. TV 50. I believe is going to be the game. There's going to be the local channel in the Southeast Michigan area. ESPN Plus, obviously.
Yep.
Get your tickets. I know there's still some tickets and some interesting club graphics in their promotion work stuff, but we are time ready, otherwise we'll break that all down.
We got to stop now because we are way over time, and I know there's other humans who I value who are waiting for Garret and Adam while I hog them. So I'm feeling bad right now.
Don't you feel bad, because normally we're the ones holding you back.
My contact shit has probably been playing on the bottom of the screen like through this. Does that still happen on the
yes, it cycles through.
Right. So look at that. I'm going to say it really fast, and you could replay it a bunch if you want. It's Shield Chafing, SCYLDSEEAFING @gmail.com is how you email me. Shield Chafing is my handle on Twitter and is my username most everywhere, including on my Patreon, which is called Words About Shapes for reasons. And that's it.
Best support soccer work in the country. Expect some cool stuff out there. Yeah. $3 a month, although I've been telling you it should be $3.69 a month instead of video promotion stuff you're seeing now, folks. I'd
have to produce some exclusive content or something. I'm not that video oriented. I don't have a face for YouTube. You know what I'm saying? I look at myself and I'm kind of like kind of shudder, like, oh, it's like I'm sort of like I'm sort of in the uncanny valley for myself. So yeah, yes, I have problems. Please don't write me about that.
No, we will not be reading complaints on air. Adam, find him on TMSNX Adam. You can also find the Majors Detroit, TMSNX Detroit on Twitter, at the Majors TV on YouTube, Detroit.themajorsports for all of the content on there. You can find me personally, GM Comets, on the Twitter, the Instagram, the Discord, and our fun, lovable nutsex over at Channel 451, Tunnel Talk, which as soon as this cuts,
do you mean nut cases? Because nut sacks means a whole different thing. Like they're like your fun little scrotums that are hanging out over there.
Okay.
I never thought of like Alan and Jaime as scrotums. I'm gonna go on record with that one.
Yeah, that's all you get.
Yeah, mate, take the S out. There we go. But yeah, so look for that on there. We're recording that, so both these episodes should be dropping at around the same time. There'll be some fun stuff on there. Adam gets to continue to be the hardest working producing stuff, especially if I throw like other Detroit sports videos at his way this week. So
never sleeping.
yeah. So with that, guys, we've made it here. Regular season done. Time flies like a motherfucker. It's playoff time. Saturday night, November the 2nd, 7 p.m. Eastern. Bundle up. Detroit City FC, Tampa Bay Rowdies. Keyworth Stadium playoffs, over the top, under the lights. It's a vintage slogan. It's a modern era. Let's fucking go.
High five, Jackie.
Yeah, shout out to Jackie always, especially for the food and the Lions Company on Sunday. Next time, we will talk. See ya. Bye.